Thank you, Chair. Councillor Bateman. Councillor Crater.
Present.
Councillor Diodati.
I'm here.
Councillor Easton. Councillor Foster.
Present.
Chair Gale.
I'm present.
Councillor Encina.
Present.
Councillor Yip.
Present.
Councillor Jordan. Councillor Kaiser. Councillor Olson.
Present.
Councillor Rigby.
Present.
Councillor Seaborn.
Present.
Councillor Cisco.
In living color.
Councillor Sorrento.
President Clerk.
Councillor Whalen.
Present.
Councillor Woodavine.
Present, thank you.
Thank you. This land, the Niagara region, is situated on treaty land. The land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as Haudenosaunee, Haudenosaunee, and Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The regional municipality of Niagara stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live. Next, we go to disclosure of pecuniary interest. Are there any members that have any disclosures of pecuniary interest? I'm seeing none. We'll go to delegations. We have a couple delegations today. Actually, three. There are three on today's agenda. I will remind the delegates that you have 10-minute time limit and that all discussion must be conducted through the chair and in a respectful manner. Before I call on the first delegate, I want to advise committee that if there are no objections, we will move up report COM 5-2026 and memorandum COC-C 12-2026, agenda items 6.1 and 6.2 to be dealt with immediately following the delegations on this matter. Agenda items 4.11 and 4.12. So we'll go to 4.1, Welcoming Streets Initiative Pilot Program Evaluation. I'll call on Samantha McLeese, Assistant Professor of Brock University, for her delegation. I will note that you'll take questions after the second delegation on this subject. So welcome, Samantha. You may begin.
Hi. Sorry, I just want to test out this clicker here to make sure that I'm in control. Thanks. And everyone can hear me okay? Thanks. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for the opportunity to present to this committee today. My name is Samantha McLeese. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Sociology and Criminology at Brock University. And I'm here today to share some findings from the more qualitative evaluation that I helped to complete of the Welcoming Streets Initiative pilot. So I know that I might be starting here with some information that you're already familiar with, but just allow me to set the stage for what's to come. So Welcoming Streets is a peer-led street outreach program which launched in downtown St. Catharines in April 2025. It runs Monday through Friday, 8 to 4 p.m., and is delivered through a partnership with Reach Niagara and Positive Living Niagara, two organizations that have deep roots in this region. The objectives of Welcoming Streets include connecting people to services, building a stronger sense of community between everyone who lives and works in downtown St. Catharines, and also to help de-escalate non-emergency situations and to reduce the stigma and negative impact of stereotypes on people experiencing homelessness in the city. This initiative has been active in other communities across Ontario as well. So we've seen it in Guelph, Brampton, Kingston, Belleville, and Ottawa, for instance. And while there are some evaluations from these other municipalities, it's of course important to look at how things have been going here. So this is just a high-level overview of the evaluation design. So phase one, which we completed in the fall, included surveys of block leaders, business owners, employees of downtown businesses, and community partners in St. Catharines. And then phase two, which we just wrapped up in January, included 2 focus groups with block leaders, a survey with street-involved community members, and a final focus group with leadership representatives from Positive Living and Reach Niagara. And so what I would like to do with my time today is highlight some of the findings which help tell the story of Welcoming Streets so far. So let's start with the block leaders. At the time of completing the survey in October, most block leaders had been working with the Welcoming Streets initiative for at least 5 months. 15 of 17 described themselves as either very or extremely confident in their ability to conduct outreach, which is a really strong baseline for a program that remains in its pilot phase. And what's even more impressive is how this confidence in doing the job translates into action. So with all block leaders indicating that they have been able to connect people directly to relevant services or resources or supports in one way or another. And also notable here is how block leaders themselves experience the Welcoming Streets initiative. So one individual described the program as giving them self-esteem, dignity, and hope. And then another emphasized how Welcoming Streets provides all community members with a stronger support system. So on the left here, you can see the more tangible supports that are provided by block leaders to street-involved community members day to day. For the most part, these supports revolve around basic needs and health and safety. And on the right, you see a snapshot of what block leaders have observed that has changed since the Welcoming Streets initiatives began in April. So most noted the improved relationship between businesses and street-involved community members, and many agreed that the program is helping to build a more inclusive and connected community in St. Catharines. And one quote, here stands out to me a lot, which is a block leader noting that businesses are now more likely to contact Welcoming Streets than they are to call the police. And this is a really meaningful shift in how the downtown core responds to non-emergency situations. And this is a shift that happened within months. Okay, so let's move on to business owners, employees, and community partners. So the good news is that by October, most people surveyed were familiar with the Welcoming Streets initiative, and many had already interacted directly with block leaders or others on the Welcoming Streets team. So 12 people surveyed observed an increase in outreach and support in public spaces downtown. Many reported improved relationships between businesses and street-involved community members. And also we see a significant number, again, noting this reduction in stigma and harmful stereotypes towards street-involved community members. And when asked whether Welcoming Streets has contributed to a more inclusive and connected community, most agreed that it has. So we see 75% of the responses in the positive column here. And again, for a program that was only running for a few months at that point, this is a pretty significant impact. So now I'm taking you through some findings from phase 2 of the evaluation, and I'd like to start with the survey from street-involved community members. And what we see right away is the incredible amount of trust that is already placed in Welcoming Streets, and that people feel very supported when they see a block leader in the downtown core. You know, people experiencing homelessness, we know that they often, have a hard time trusting some other outreach workers, other social services for various reasons. And so for every person in this survey to report feeling safe and welcome, it was not a given, but it does speak directly to what a peer-led model makes possible. And the quotes, people had the option to give written comments in the surveys as well, and they kind of tell the same story, right? People saying there's nothing else like it out here. The only other ones they could think of maybe was Nassau, and even someone taking the time to write that Welcoming Streets brightens their day. So these are really descriptions of what it feels like when people feel seen. So 8 block leaders also participated in 2 focus groups in January. And I just want to take some time to talk about the 2 stories at the top of the slide here. So first, we heard from a block leader who was walking home from a community program when he encountered a young person who was unresponsive due to fentanyl. So he, along with others, administered CPR, gave this person care, and she ended up surviving. And while he noted he wasn't on shift with Welcoming Streets at the time, but that he was sharing this story with us to demonstrate the importance of having people in our neighborhoods who look out for one another and who are trained to provide more immediate help in emergencies, including giving CPR or administering Narcan. Another Block leader shared how he connected with someone he recognized while doing outreach with Welcoming Streets. This was a man that he knew when they were both in the shelter system together. So through consistent weekly contact and kind of making those regular connections to other resources and supports, this man was able to secure his own place to live within a month. And this was after living on the streets for about 5 years. So stories like this demonstrate what's possible when you put the right people, which includes people with lived experience and good training and a desire to build genuine relationships, into our communities. And these focus groups with Block leaders also surfaced a phrase that I think is one of the clearest articulations of the program that I've heard to date, which is like they were saying it's like having an interpreter. Block leaders speak the language. They know the resources, they understand the barriers to service, they know the unwritten rules for navigating various systems, policies, and processes. And this goes a long way towards supporting people and meeting their various needs. So the final component of our qualitative evaluation of Welcoming Streets was a focus group with 3 members of the leadership team. So I just want to spend a couple moments on what came from this discussion. So first, what is extremely clear is that the collaboration and the partnership between REACH and Positive Living Niagara is a major factor in the success of the Welcoming Streets initiative. So these are 2 organizations that provide complementary expertise and are very well aware of the needs and concerns of community members in St. Catharines. And another thing I want to note is that when the program had to pause for a little bit due to funding uncertainty at the end of last year, people took notice of this. They took notice when Welcoming Streets, when the Block leaders weren't out there. And when the team returned in January, they heard from business owners and other community members that they had been missed. So as one leader says, sometimes you don't know what you've got until it's gone. And I think that this is something to reflect on as you move through your conversations during this meeting and ongoing conversations at council. Okay, so what's working well? We see the consistent and compassionate presence of Block leaders in the downtown core. We see these quick and warm transfers that Block leaders can facilitate to various resources and supports. We're seeing these improved relationships between street-involved community members and local businesses, as well as a decreased reliance on police. And again, I want to note the specific positive impact on the Block leaders themselves. So many of them indicated that this is such a meaningful employment opportunity for people with lived experience. And I do think that this is a notable outcome of this initiative. And finally, it's obviously also great that we're seeing attitude changes towards people who are experiencing homelessness, perhaps a little bit more patience, a little bit more compassion towards our neighbors who are already struggling. So while overall sentiment towards Welcoming Streets is positive, this initial evaluation identifies clear opportunities to kind of strengthen and sustain its impact. So our early recommendations include increasing staffing and outreach teams to improve response times and expand coverage beyond the downtown core, securing stable long-term funding to support program continuity, mobility, and outreach capacity, developing partnerships to create safe gathering spaces that reduce reliance on precarious and over-policed public spaces, strengthening internal coordination and mechanisms for incorporating lived experience and community feedback into ongoing program development.
Samantha,
Yeah.
I'm just going to, it's over the 10-minute mark. So
Okay, I've got one more slide. I'm so
if you can
sorry.
just wrap up.
I
Thank you.
timed it, I promise. And then finally, aligning hours of operation with community need while simultaneously advocating for expanded service availability across the entire local service landscape, specifically in evenings and weekends, to ensure that outreach efforts can meaningfully connect people to appropriate resources and support. So just really quickly to wrap up, the evidence from this evaluation is consistent and clear across every group that we spoke to. block leaders, business owners, community partners, employees, and leadership, and people experiencing homelessness themselves. Welcoming Streets is working. This program is working in downtown St. Catharines. It's certainly not the only thing that we need there or in the region, but it is making a difference. And the ask from my perspective here is quite simple, which is continued funding. So we know now from the people who were there what happens when Welcoming Streets pauses. And I would ask this committee to do everything possible to ensure that this doesn't happen again. So thank you very much.
Right, thank you for your presentation. I'll call on the next delegate. Kat Dodge, Executive Director of St. Catharines Downtown Association. Your time hasn't started yet, don't worry. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today. I won't take up too much of your time. Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Kat Dodge, and I am the Executive Director for the St. Catharines Downtown Association. We are an association of 700 business members and property owners in the downtown core, which is the urban growth center of the region. I recognize that funding discussions for the program are expected to be coming in the next month or so, and I'm delegating early today because I believe it's important for us to start sharing our feedback early and consistently. From what we're hearing from downtown businesses, the Welcoming Streets Initiative is a program that's worth continued investment. It's delivering real results on the ground, and it's helping maximize the impact of the other social services that the region is already investing in. Before I continue, I'd also like to thank the Niagara region staff and everyone involved for participating in a downtown public safety meeting that we hosted in our beautiful First Ontario Performing Arts Centre a couple weeks ago. We welcomed 125 of our businesses, residents, and community members to hear directly from the city, the region, police, and Welcoming Streets Initiative. Understanding what's being done to support the downtown core, it increases confidence for investment, visitors, and residents in the urban core. So we thank you for taking the time to participate in that. And I'd like to share a story with you today. This happened last week. A property owner came into my office. I've actually not met them yet before. He owns a large office building downtown. He was incredibly enthusiastic, which doesn't always happen, but he was excited about the difference that he's noticed in the last several months in our downtown. He told me that for years, he had just become used to the encampments and people struggling around his building, and it's been making it difficult for him to keep tenants and for his tenants to attract customers into their units. Recently, he said that he's noticed that there's been a change that's been 180 degrees, and he credits that change directly to Welcoming Streets Initiative. What stood out to him was that the program is not simply moving problems from one location to another, but the outreach workers are engaging with people, building relationships, and helping resolve situations before they escalate. And it's made it easier for him to attract tenants and to have confidence in his building. What brought him into my space that day was his concerns that the program could come to an end. He wanted to know what he could do to make sure that it continues, and he wasn't able to be here today, so I just wanted to make sure that his story was heard. And it's not just his story. This is not a unique thing that we're hearing from our businesses. Over the past several months, we have heard from more and more businesses that are coming forward. They're property owners, they're investing their livelihood in the downtown. They're expressing appreciation for this specific service. What began before the pilot started with some skepticism from our businesses has shifted into requests for expanded hours, additional outreach workers, improved communications about the services, and continued evolution based on the unique needs of our downtown. The presence in downtown is something that's always being asked for. It's one of probably the biggest things that businesses ask for with the amount of things that are happening within our busy core. And the Welcoming Streets Initiative provides an alternative to relying solely on police or security for situations that businesses are increasingly discovering that aren't necessarily enforcement issues. They're complex mental and social health challenges. Having trained outreach workers who can de-escalate these situations and connect individuals to the supports that already exist in the community have helped strengthen the broader system of services that the region is already funding. And what we're hearing from our downtown businesses is simple. They're on the front lines of many of these challenges. The Welcoming Streets Initiative is one of the first programs that we've seen that has a meaningful and helpful way in helping them address people on the streets in a compassionate and effective way. With approximately 10% of St. Catharines businesses located in the downtown core, programs like Welcoming Streets Initiative are important not only for supporting individuals in need, but also for strengthening confidence in a downtown that people want to invest in, they want to work in, they want to live here, and they want to visit. A healthy downtown is a healthy region. And as you all look ahead to funding discussions that I believe are coming out in April, we encourage you to consider Welcoming Streets Initiative as a program that's delivering real value for the businesses, residents, and vulnerable individuals alike, not only for downtown, but for a city that ripples out into the entire region and has an effect on all of us. And I want to thank you for your time and for your continued support. I'm glad that we're all working together to support a healthier community, so thank you.
Thank you, Kat, for your presentation. I'll now go to committee members, see if there's any questions or, for the delegates. Okay, there's no speakers on the list. No questions? I guess you did a really good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you both, Samantha and Kat, for your presentation. Very informative. Next, we'll go to 6.1, COM-2026 Welcoming Streets Initiative Pilot Project Evaluation. I need a mover and seconder. Moved by Councillor Yip, second by Councillor Cisco. Any discussion? Councillor Cisco.
Thank you, Chair. And I didn't want to make a comment when the speakers were there because it was only for questions, but I want to thank them for the presentations, both of them. I think did a good job of outlining how successful this program has been. I did have a couple of questions for staff, so through you, Chair. Given that the program's engaging directly with the unhoused population and it's helping people connect to housing, should we not be considering this a part of our homelessness prevention?
I go to Commissioner Koning.
Through the chairs, thank you for the question. One of the things that as service managers for the homelessness system we need to follow are the Homelessness Prevention Plan program guidelines. And under those guidelines, they ask for the focus to be on housing and rehousing and then supporting individuals who are unhoused. So the mandate doesn't clearly align. And I hear what you're saying because so the intent of individuals who are working through Welcoming Streets, which is a great program, and so far with the interim evaluation, we're seeing really good outcomes for that program, largely focused on supporting businesses in the downtown and that relationship between the businesses and the individuals who are sometimes unhoused. It looks like from the details, 80% unhoused, 20% with a presence in the downtown area.
So I do always appreciate the opportunity to argue with staff. You mentioned, supporting individuals who are unhoused. I don't know, but based on the presentation that I saw, the first presentation, it seems like that's a lot of what they're doing. So it seems to me it would fall under the guidelines. I do believe it's a benefit to the businesses, but the issues that we identified in the first place when asking for the program were that there were a lot of individuals who were unhoused that were struggling to find supports, and this program seems to be connecting them appropriately. So could I not make a very clear link between that and the guidelines you just discussed?
So through the chair, it's a really good question, and we've had lots of discussion around this as well. So the support that we're providing for people who are unhoused is all through that focus of rehousing. So say, for example, with our shelter program, as you know, our shelters are housing focused, so working with individuals who are using the shelter to become rehoused. NASO workers who are on the street are constantly focusing with individuals who are living on street to move directly from street to housing or from street to shelter to housing. But again, always with that focus on housing. So the focus is a little bit different on this. And when we looked at the preliminary evaluation results as well, that although one of the things that individuals working with Welcoming Streets may do is make a connection with Nassau or make a connection with another service in the downtown core. The intent of the program isn't to rehouse individuals who they're meeting with.
I'm going to take that as an agreement with my main point. At the recent public safety downtown meeting that we had, and Ms. Dodge, I think, mentioned it, one of the comments that was made was that there had been the NRP was saying that they had seen a 60% decrease in mental health calls downtown, and that they were attributing that to programs like Welcoming Streets. So I'm wondering, like, how do we weigh the value of continuing the funding for initiatives when they are improving public safety based on the reports of the Niagara Regional Police?
Through the chair, so I wouldn't like to speak for the police, but one of the things that we are currently working on, because we are concerned about how to ensure that the programs that are being offered in the downtown core are coordinated and that we're getting good value for money and good coordinated services through those programs. So in the downtown area, we have the Welcoming Streets Initiative pilot program. We have Nassau that provides support downtown, the police and EMS. One of the things we're looking at is working with those 4 groups together to look at where do the services intersect, where do they best align, and which program most effectively meets which needs. I think through that work, we could probably look at addressing the question that you put forward, because I think it's a broader piece. And again, this was an interim evaluation for Welcoming Streets and a really great evaluation and good to see. We're going to be able to see final results after April as well, to be able to measure the impact of the winter program. So I'm not suggesting the program doesn't have value. I think you've had really great outcomes based on the evaluation that we saw in the presentation that we just heard. I think it'll be good to look at that in combination with all the other programs in terms of decision making, in terms of funding allocation.
I will say I appreciated the fact that what I heard during the presentation from Ms. McAleese was it aligned with the anecdotal evidence that we've been hearing in the downtown for the last 8 months. It was actually even more positive in limited interactions with business owners talking about Welcoming Streets. I was very happy to see that. As I said, it lines up with what we're hearing. But obviously, the program is currently slated to have no funding source after April 30th. So just as a starting point to complete the year, what would we be looking at just to maintain the program as it stands? And I will say, like, it's a little frustrating that we can't be having a conversation about actually expanding the program at this time, because based on the results we just read, it seems that a lot of people think this should be expanded, the unhoused, the block workers, the businesses, the residents in downtown. But just to get us through until December 31st, another 8 months, are we looking at an $80,000 contribution, give or take?
Commissioner.
Through the chair, so we have looked at this and looked at the preliminary information that came out. One of the reasons we wanted to look at a preliminary review is to better understand what we might be looking at in April. Right now, based on our budget process, we would be looking at listening to the results in April, getting that feedback, and depending on the feedback, bringing a recommendation through a business case for 2027 budget. And in the event that this is something that we would want to do in the interim between April and the end of year, staff have been looking at various grant opportunities and have applied for grant opportunities to cover that that gap in funding that we would see in that time frame. So we could extend the pilot to the end of the year with potentially with grant funding.
And I do appreciate the work that staff are doing with the partners involved in Welcoming Streets Initiative to look at grant opportunities. I think that's a good step. With that said, I'm very concerned that there's going to be a gap in service. And that gap in service, as was mentioned, was noticed. Again, anecdotally, and now borne out by the evidence that's been presented, the data, perhaps. So I'm hoping that perhaps we can make an amendment to this that would be friendly to the mover, that staff return at next month's PHSSC meeting with what options exist to continue funding until the end of the year while we wait for the outcome of the grant opportunities. Because I am hopeful that grant opportunities will come. I think based on my understanding of the grants we've applied for, we may be a good fit. And additional to that, I guess I would say with the program being added as a part of the base budget deliberations for fiscal year 27 as well, which I think you had just mentioned is being done right now. So that's comforting, and I don't think that needs to be added to the amendment. But if we could have an amendment asking for that report next month, because I desperately do not want to see this program end. And I think this is the appropriate place. I spend a lot of time in this chamber talking about the downstream effects of homelessness and how they impact local area municipalities. And this is an example where, you know, the data seems to bear out that a large portion of the people that are being served by the Welcoming Streets Initiative are the unhoused. And so rightfully, this program should be seated here with the people who are the experts in this field. So I hope it's friendly to the mover, and I hope it can garner the support of this committee to at least see what the options look like next month and make a decision at that time. Obviously, you know, whatever options need to include funding sources, et cetera, whether they be reserves or reallocated dollars. Thank you, Chair.
All right, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Yip, do you see it as a friendly amendment?
Absolutely, thank you.
Okay, we're just going to get it on the floor here. Yeah, sure. Sorry, Commissioner, like to comment on it as well.
For clarification in terms of bringing back the report. So if we were to extend the program to the end of the year without relying on grant funding to cover the cost of that, we'd need to offset the cost by either reducing, pausing, or deferring current budget. So in the report that we bring back, would you like the report to sort of speak to what potential programs, based on the cost for the remainder of the year, what would be the programs that would be options for being cut or deferred?
For sure, but I would hope that the only options that are being brought forward aren't simply to slash another program. I realize that reserves at the region are limited, and I'm not asking us to delve deeply, but if this is a program that works, that is working with the unhoused population, which is the responsibility of the region, and which has very clear positive outcomes, then I would suggest an 80,000-ish investment to get us to the end of this fiscal year and into the budget cycle for next year would be very much warranted. So I would hope the only option is not simply, this is what we will cut to do this.
All right, thank you, Councillor. If you can take a read of the amendment and see if that's what you're asking for there. That report COM-2026 dated March 10th, 2026, respecting Welcoming Streets Initiative Pilot Project Program evaluation be received for information at that staff be directed to provide a report to the next PHSSC committee identifying what funding exists to extend the program until the end of 2026.
So, Chair, I would just ask if the word options could come after funding. Funding options exist.
Yeah, okay.
Because I would hope, as I said, that there's more than just
Right.
one outcome.
Okay. So we'll have a speakers list. Sorry. It's friendly. Oh, okay. Oh, right. Okay. So then are you done, Councillor? We'll go to Councillor Witteveen.
There shouldn't be much left to say after Mayor Cisco there, but I wanted to thank both Kat and Sam on this work in support of the pilot. I think it's great work. It's a great finding, and obviously I support the motion and the amended motion because I think we have enough information to show that it is working and it is serving its purpose. So I guess wanted to make a comment as Mayor Cisco pretty much summed up some of my concerns and thoughts. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Witteveen. I have Councillor Olson next.
Thank you, Chair, and I want to thank the presenters because when I read through the documents, I didn't see that you were going to make a presentation. I was impressed with the presentation, even more impressed with the documents. and appreciate the fact that you're working as in a collaboration with the, not just one of you, but two of you, and I believe that that's the way forward in so many of these things. Community engagement, community partnerships are going to lead the way in this, I think, because we simply are not going to have the resources to do what you're doing as volunteers, so I appreciate it so much. The other thing that comes out loud and clear in all of the work is that I've seen is a degree of respect, a high degree of respect and affirmation of the individuals that you're dealing with. And I think that's the core of your welcome, and I appreciate it, and I will be voting in favor of the motion as amended, and I'm glad that Mayor Cisco was able to ask the questions about budget and things like that, and we have the confirmation from our staff that they will look at it in a constructive way, in a positive way to find the money for something so positive as this. Thank you, Chair. That's it.
Thank you, Councillor Olson. I have next Councillor Foster.
Thank you, and I'm just wondering with the motion and maybe perhaps as direction to staff, I'm pleased that it's being changed to make sure we have continuing funding to the end of the year, but can we also perhaps have a discussion on how we could turn this into long-term funding as well? The idea is that I think we all know and understand that this is a good program, and it should be funded, and this is something the region should be doing. So I'm just anyway, maybe as direction through you guys as chairs, that perhaps that can also be part of the discussion coming back.
We'll take that as direction, Commissioner? Yeah, we'll take it as direction, Councillor. I see no other speakers on the list. And we've asked, Councillor Yip has asked for a recorded vote.
Counselor Crader,
In favor?
Counselor Diodati,
In favor.
Counselor Easton,
Support.
Counselor Foster,
Support?
Chair Gale,
Support?
Counselor Encina,
Yes.
Counselor Yip,
In favor.
Counselor Kaiser,
In favor.
Counselor Morocco,
In favor.
Counselor Olson,
Support.
Counselor Rigby,
Support.
Counselor Seaborn,
Support.
Counselor Cisco,
In favor.
Counselor Sorrento,
Support.
Counselor Whalen,
In favor.
Counselor Witteveen,
Support?
Counselor Keokio,
In favor.
and that's carried unanimously.
That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Again, thank you to the presenters for their presentation. Well done. We'll go to 6.2, COM-C 12-2026, correspondence received respecting Welcoming Streets Initiative Pilot Program Evaluation. I just need a mover and seconder for this. Moved by Councillor Witteveen, second by Councillor Encina. Any speakers? I'm seeing none. Well, then I'll call the question. Please vote electronically. And that carries. Thank you. Next, we go to 4.2, Homelessness Prevention Plan, Investment Plan of 2026 to 2027. I'll now call on Kithio Wanzia. I hope I said it right. I'm sorry. Did I say it right? Okay. For the next delegation. Welcome.
Thank you. That was a very good try, and I've heard worse tries. But
I feel your pain because my name isn't
oh,
as
yes,
easy.
yes, I was going to say. Anyway, good afternoon, Chair of the Public Health and Social Services Committee and members of Regional Council. My name is Keith Mwanzia. I'm the housing manager at Community Care of St. Catharines and Thorold, which is the lead agency for the Regional Housing Consortium. As you consider the investment plan before you to be made in housing, we wanted to highlight some key information to help better inform your discussion. First, on behalf of the Regional Housing Consortium partners, I want to sincerely thank you and regional staff for your continued commitment to resourcing our work and supporting the agencies that serve some of the most vulnerable residents in our community. Your investment in collaboration and coordinated service delivery allows organizations like ours to move beyond isolated responses and instead work together to address housing instability and homelessness in a meaningful, system-focused way. Today, I'm pleased to speak on behalf of our Regional Housing Consortium dedicated to eviction loss prevention and rapid rehousing. This partnership brings together several organizations that have long histories of supporting residents across Niagara. Our members include Community Care of St. Catharines and Thorold, the Hope Centre, Project Share in Niagara Falls, Community Care in West Niagara, and the Salvation Army in Fort Erie. We're also excited to be expanding our collaboration to include Port Cares, strengthening the reach of this partnership even further across the region. Each of these organizations serves a distinct geographic area, but through this consortium, we share a common goal: preventing homelessness before it occurs and quickly rehousing those who do lose their housing. By working together, we ensure that residents across Niagara can access coordinated support regardless of where they enter the system. With each of our collective commitment to food security, we're able to support both housing stability and food security needs of some of the most vulnerable in our community. Our work in housing focuses on two key pillars: housing loss prevention and rapid rehousing. Housing loss prevention aims to stabilize households that are at immediate risk of eviction by addressing the financial, legal, and social challenges that threaten their housing. Rapid rehousing, on the other hand, focuses on supporting individuals and families who have already lost their housing to quickly move back into stable accommodation with the supports they need to remain housed. The need for this work is very real. Across our agencies, we see firsthand how quickly housing instability can escalate when families facing unexpected job loss, rising rents, health challenges, or the life disruptions. What's important to remember in that homelessness rarely begins with a single event. It is often the result of multiple pressures that accumulate until a household simply cannot keep up. One of the most striking realities we see in our program is the number of young people affected by housing instability. Currently, 35% of our trusteeship clients served through our programs are under the age of 17. That statistic reminds us that when we talk about housing loss prevention, we're not only supporting adults, we're helping to protect children and youth from long-term impacts of housing instability. Stable housing during childhood is closely tied to better educational outcomes, improved health, and stronger long-term economic stability. Because of the dedication of our staff, the collaboration among agencies, and support provided by the region, we are seeing real outcomes from those efforts. Our rapid rehousing program has achieved a success rate of 85.3% in helping individuals and families exit homelessness and move into stable housing. That means the vast majority of our clients through these programs are able to regain housing and begin rebuilding stability in their lives. Similarly, our housing loss prevention initiatives have prevented evictions in 67.92% of the cases where households were at immediate risk. In other words, roughly 2/3 of families and individuals facing eviction were able to remain in their homes because of the early intervention and targeted supports. Thanks to the collaboration of our agencies and the resources provided through the region, we are seeing strong results. Looking at the impact in 2025, the results of this collaboration work are very clear. Together, our consortium helped house more than 580 individuals across Niagara. During that same period, we prevented more than 600 evictions, allowing families and individuals to remain in their homes and avoid the trauma and disruption of homelessness. We would be remiss if we didn't take a moment to recognize the valuable work of the Heart Homelessness and Addiction Recovery Treatment Hub in Niagara is a strong example of what can be done when different parts of the community come together. The hub brings healthcare providers, social services, and community organizations into one place to support people experiencing homelessness, addiction, or mental health challenges. By collaborating, these groups can often coordinate care, such as medical support, counseling, housing assistance, and recovery programs, rather than working separately. This teamwork makes it easier for people to access the help they need and ensures that support is more effective and compassionate. The Heart Hub shows how cooperation between governments, health professionals, and community partners can create a more supportive system and improve outcomes for vulnerable individuals. Similar to our collaboration as a consortium, our commitment extends to what happens after people are rehoused. Housing stability is the ultimate goal, and the outcomes speak for themselves. Of the hundreds of individuals we supported into housing last year, only 3 returned to homelessness. That level of sustained housing stability demonstrates the effectiveness of a coordinated, supportive approach that focuses not just on housing placement, but on the supports that help people remain housed. These outcomes are significant not only for the households involved, but the broader community. Preventing homelessness is far more effective and far less costly than responding to homelessness after it occurs. Every eviction prevented reduces pressure on the shelters, emergency services, healthcare system, and other crisis supports. Another key factor in our success is the ability to leverage the tools and technology provided by the region. One example is the Homelessness Individuals and Families Information System, or HIFIS. This shared system plays a critical role in coordinating services across agencies. Through HIFIS, we were able to ensure that clients are properly tracked within the homelessness support system, allowing agencies to collaborate more effectively and avoid duplication of services. It also enables us to ensure individuals and families are connected to the right supports at the right time. Housing stability is rarely just a housing issue. Many clients require access to a range of services, including mental health supports, financial counseling, employment services, and legal assistance. In some cases, individuals need guidance navigating the landlord and tenant tribunal or accessing legal resources related to tenancy disruptions. By using coordinated systems like HIFIS, we can ensure that clients are not navigating these challenges alone. Instead, they are connected with appropriate service providers across the region who can address the underlying issues that contribute to housing instability. What makes this consortium particularly powerful is a shared commitment among our agencies to collaborate rather than to compete. Each organization brings its own expertise, community connections, and local knowledge, but through this partnership, we're able to operate as a coordinated network. When one agency encounters a client whose needs may be better addressed by another organization or program, we're able to quickly make those connections and ensure the individual receives the most appropriate support. The expansion of our consortium to include Port Cares represents another important step forward. As housing pressures continue to affect communities across Niagara, strengthening partnerships and expanding regional coordination will be essential to ensuring residents can access help where and when they need it. We know that the housing challenges facing our region are complex and evolving. Rising costs, limited housing supply, and economic uncertainty continue to place pressure on households across Niagara. But the outcomes we are seeing demonstrated that collaborative, prevention-focused approaches make a measurable difference. On behalf of all the agencies within the consortium, I want to reiterate our appreciation to Regional Council and to staff for your continued support of this work. Your investment in coordinated systems, technologies like HIFIS and community partnerships enable organizations like ours to respond effectively and compassionately to residents facing housing instability. Together, we are not just addressing homelessness, we are preventing it. We are helping families remain in their homes, helping individuals regain stability after housing loss, and ensuring children and youth have the stable foundation they need to thrive.
Great. Thank you for your presentation. I'll now go to council members, see if there's any questions for the presenter. Councillor Encina.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you for what you do. It's greatly appreciated. What is your sphere of influence? Like, is it just centered in St. Catharines? Is it all over? And the reason I ask, well, go ahead first.
So sphere of influence, I don't know would be the best way to characterize it. We are the lead agency for the Regional Housing Consortium.
Right.
So we're a partnership. In the gallery today, we have the CEO of Community Care and the CEO of Project Share. So we really work and leverage each other's strengths. If there's a community connection that is a stronger relationship between any one of the consortium members, that's the work they're able to bring to the table. Okay. We really focus on the client and how we navigate them through the system. Ultimately, the way that we go about housing individuals is really through strong landlord relationships. And so what might be the case is that Agency X, say Project Share in the Falls, has a better landlord relationship for us to house somebody. And so even if that person might be in St. Catharines, but we found them housing in the Falls, we will make that connection and support them all the way through.
And thank you for that. Right at the very end, you mentioned something about expansion going towards port cares. Can I ask you to keep in mind the fact that Fort Erie is now looking at creating a Fort Cares, very similar, moving forward with what they're doing with food security, IDs, and helping with social people getting through that system. Just keep that in the back of your mind if you would, or maybe possibly reach out to them. It's strong Fort Erie neighborhoods that we're making that move.
Very much so. There isn't, the consortium believes, and I do personally, that there is no benefit to us not having somebody in the consortium that is, serving individuals that are housing unstable. So, if it's Fort Cares, I don't know if that's a confirmed name or a draft, but if it's Fort Cares or...
It's strong Fort Erie neighborhood. That's actually trying to make that jump.
Great information to learn, but absolutely those are the types of organizations we want to be able to bring into the fold. As I mentioned, any CRM, for lack of a better way of putting it, is the only value of it is the data that goes into it. And so if we don't have, Port Cares and Fort Cares data in things like HIFIS and in and amongst the consortium, we're missing a key piece of our level of service delivery. So we welcome, having partners that make sure we're touching all parts of Niagara.
And thank you for that, and thank you, Chair, for letting me speak about this one. And it's a region-wide issue, not just secular indifference pockets.
Correct.
And it's region-wide. And thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Councillor Nsinna. I have Councillor Olson is next.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and thank you, sir, for your presentation. And to your volunteers who are with you here and the other groups that are with you. As I said to the other group before, and I won't repeat it in a long form way, I think these are complex issues, and it won't be solved by one individual group. It's going to be solved by collaboration with the organizations you mentioned. And I'm delighted to see that you're expanding because this had new ideas to you and new experiences that you're going to pick up from that. I'm also very appreciative of the fact that you're talking about maintaining people in their houses right now. It's not tomorrow, that's down the road where we're going to build something and maybe we'll get it approved and maybe it's 5 years later we get this done. The fact that this is right now and in the moment is extremely important. So I appreciate the fact that you're doing this work, and I appreciate the work that your volunteers are doing to help you, because it's if it wasn't for you and them, nothing would happen here.
I appreciate you saying that. We do have fantastic volunteers. We also have excellent teams. So each of us has a team of some size to do eviction loss prevention, rapid rehousing. We're only able to do that work, when we're resourced by the region. We like our KPIs to be able to speak for themselves, but we do experience the pressure that exists in the calls that we get, the call volume that we get when it comes to eviction loss prevention. Unfortunately, it's the sort of thing that people are coming to you in crisis, and there's very little levers that you have when someone comes to you in crisis. If they're getting evicted tomorrow, it would have been nice to hear from them 10 days prior. But we work with people where they're at. But I would be remiss if I didn't take note of our teams across the region. We have very qualified individuals in both housing loss prevention and rapid rehousing, as well as our trusteeship program. And all of the hard work that they do helps us deliver on the KPIs that I shared with you. And so, when we talk about investing in the program, we're really talking about investing in both technology and talent. It's individuals that are able to deliver on the work, and it's technology like HIFIS. And I raise it for specific reasons because it isn't a dormant piece of technology. We use it every day. At least it's my responsibility to press some team members to use it every day. But it has been a very effective tool, because for something that we might input in St. Catharines, a colleague will be able to see it in the Falls and respond to it accordingly, or a colleague will be able to respond to it or see it in Welland at the Hope Centre and be able to respond to it. So it's given us some real fantastic sort of ability to respond just in time, knowing that the constituency of individual we serve often come to us in crisis, rather than sort of re-traumatizing them for them to tell their story to us each time of why they find themselves in unstable housing. We have things like HIFIS that allow for us to serve them, not just quickly, but also with dignity.
Yes. Thank you, Chair, and thank you for that reminder, because I often say we have a superior staff here at the region. And I'm pleased to hear that you have that, and I'm glad you reminded me of that. And thank you for engaging in a conversation about this, because I believe that innovation and efficiency has to go hand in hand. And without one or the other, it makes your work more difficult, and it makes everybody else work more difficult. So 100%. I appreciate you saying that to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Olson. I have Councillor Rigby next.
Madam Mr. Chair, and thank you, and Madam Chair. I have to say that for me, having sat here this morning and this afternoon and hearing the comments about how we are doing things and why we're doing them and how we're jointly doing them and active forward to cohese this whole things that we're now hearing. These things are happening, and it's outside, and it's out there, and it's working, and it's every organization that we have is involved, who are volunteers. One of my favorite ones is right up there. But Betty Lou has been barking at me for the last 25 years, I think. But it's finally happening, and I'm thrilled. And even to a motion that we were dealing with this morning, it has offered us an opportunity to really step forward and be able to bring our operations in and doing them in a way that's is effective and is cost running, and we in the future are going to be very satisfied with what you have presented, what each one of our members that have come and told us what their stories, and what our staff is telling us. It's really a big lift that this one day has done, I think, for most of us that sit here and hear what is in fact happening. Thank you very much.
And I appreciate you also recognizing
I
that.
didn't have a question.
I was waiting for your question, but you didn't even ask. It's okay.
Don't you? Yes.
I know it's important, so yes. Okay, thank you, Councillor Rigby. I see no other speakers on the list. Thank you so much for your presentation. Very informative. Thank you. And now we do go to item number 5, which is COM 4-2026, which is Homelessness Prevention Plan. I need a mover and seconder. Moved by Councillor Foster, second by Councillor Councillor Olson. Any speakers? I thought it was your hand up. Any speakers? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Please vote electronically. And that carries. Thank you. 5.2, COM 6-2026 Investment Plan for Ontario Priorities Housing Initiative and Canada Ontario Community Housing Initiative funding. I need a mover seconder. Moved by Councillor Woodavine, second by Councillor Seaborn. Any comments, questions? Any discussion? I'm seeing none. So I'll call the question. All those vote electronically, sorry. And that carries. 5.3, PhD 2-2026 Environmental Health Division, Niagara Region Public Health, addition of the one permanent public health nurse full-time equivalent. Need a mover and seconder. Moved by Councillor Rigby, second by Chair Gale. Any discussion? I'm seeing none. Yeah, he's on the committee. Any questions? No? I will call the question. Please vote electronically. What's that? And that carries. Thank you. Go number 7, other business. Are there any items of other business? Councillor Woodavine.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, quickly through you to Commissioner Koning on our, I guess I'm looking for when will we be updated on the Heart Initiative and kind of, I know we've brought on some staff, but just, I'm just curious on that project, as I think most of us are, on how we're making out. So I didn't see it, and I was just curious when we may receive an update.
Yep, good question. I'll go to Commissioner Koning for that.
Through the chair, thank you for the question. So it's going well so far. So it's actually been really amazing to see, and early successes have successfully housed some individuals that had been unhoused for a very, very long time. So it's pretty incredible what you can achieve when you have all those wraparound supports available. There is a report coming back to this committee in May to provide an update on status of the program to date.
Through you, Mr. Chair, thank you very much, Commissioner.
Thank you, Councillor. I have Councillor Insina next.
Thank you, Chair. Just real quick, through to the doctor. I've been asked several times, are we past the flu time frame yet?
Dr. Guzmani?
Thank you for the question. Through the chair, there's always a risk of something. I think the peak of flu has since passed and our numbers are coming down, of flu specifically. But if your house is anything like mine, there still are constant respiratory viruses passing around. So we should do what we can to limit.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Next, we'll go to, I don't see anybody else on the speakers list. So we'll go to number 8, closed session. Do any committee members wish to go into closed session to discuss the confidential item? It doesn't look like it, so we'll go right to number 9. business arising from closed session items. I need a mover and seconder for items 8.1, confidential PhD 1-2026. Moved by, I need a mover. Moved by Counselor Olson, second by Counselor Seaborn. Okay. Any questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Please vote electronically. And that carries. Thank you. Number 10, next meeting will be held on Tuesday, April 14, 2026 at 1 p.m. here in Council Chamber, Regional Headquarters. There being no further business, this meeting is now adjourned. I love doing that.